I get into the second of our two-parter show tonight, I started drinking something a little harder than what I usually drink on stream, and that is I'm drinking whiskey. Now, you may say, well, hey, Dave, the new nerd, why are you drinking whiskey on stream? It's not because I feel like I need to be classy. It's because in the absence of TV shows, I've started binge watching something. I've started binge watching something where they drink this a lot. In fact, they drink it more than I'm probably going to drink this tonight. And that is Mad Men. I was a little skeptical at first starting Mad Men. But for some reason, Crit Camp, it's Jack Daniels. It's nice Tennessee whiskey, but it's Green Label, which is smoother than pretty much anything else out there. And I've got some whiskey stones in there. Some good old whiskey stones that I took from a while. So smooth. So smooth. But anyway, like half picking my nose on stream. I've started watching Mad Men. Binge watching Mad Men. I'm at the end of season 4, and I started it about 2 weeks ago. I have to say, this show is just as everyone said it was. Absolutely fantastic. I know I say fantastic a lot, but I have to say the depth of characters is really, really great. I have not seen John Hamm in a lot of things. Not that I was never convinced. I mean, I've seen him do a couple things. Breaking Bad was great. Breaking Bad was great. I'm actually CBZY. I don't know what you're trying to. I'm really bad at the license plate game, so I'm really sorry if I butcher your things. I'm sorry you feel that way. Breaking Bad was also a great TV show, and if it were still on today, it would definitely be one of the shows that I talk about on this stream. Unfortunately, it's over. So is Mad Men, but I've started watching it, so I feel like I should talk about it because that's what I do here. I talk about the TV shows I watch. I've only seen John Hamm in Saturday Night Live skits, in interviews. I've never seen him in a movie. I never watched Mad Men until now. And the actor, I don't know, it seemed like this was a typecasting for him. Like, he's a big, strong man, but he fits well in that 50s/60s/70s kind of style. I'm coming to find out that John Hamm is really just a great actor. He really brings a character like Don Draper and just gives it so much dimension. And Don Draper, as a character, is a man that you're not supposed to know a lot about. And they do a lot of cut scenes where they go back to his history, both as a kid, as a serviceman in the Korean War, and as a man trying to make it into the advertising agency title that he's in now. And did you watch? Well, I'm CBZY. What is that an acronym of? Just give me a couple of names because I cannot figure that out right now. Anyway, back to Donald Draper. Donald Draper is a man, and he was a man of the times. And at first, I was a little turned off. By I don't want to say It's Always Sunny in Philly. I love It's Always Sunny in Philly. Love it. Carly Mack, she loves it as well. We talk about that till our face turns blue. Yes. Sunny, fantastic show. Not for everybody, but fantastic show. Charlie Day is the man. I like Mac better. But Mad Men, going back to it, because I'm like kind of on a roll with Mad Men, I think. The overabundance of like the 50s kind of terms and everything like that is just a little. It was a little much for me. The whole mentality of everything, but I gotta say, after I got over that hurdle, I was happier. I was happier with the story. Once you got really into the characters, I was happier with the story and the way things are going. And this season 4 is turning out to be a great season because Draper is just in so much torment, and this is where John Hamm really shined. I don't know if this is when he won the Emmy for it or if he was nominated for the Emmy for it, but it should have been this season because I've seen this is like Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad crumbling apart. Like that is the mentality that we're all going with. That I'm getting. Like this is the character that I'm seeing. I'm seeing Walter White break down in this season 4 of Mad Men. So this is why I'm drinking the whiskey, and I kind of like it. I mean, I've drank this whiskey before, but I kind of like doing this on stream. I'm not going to get too drunk because this is a personality that I am, and I don't want to be sitting there going, listen to me. Listen. Batman vs. Superman is going to be the worst movie ever. I don't want to be like that. I want to let you know why I think so, and it's because of that trailer. So I'm binge watching Mad Men right now. I've been told to start watching Making a Murderer on Netflix. I love murderers. Again, people know me. You know I'm a sucker for serial killers. So I will watch it, and I will be ready for I'll do the first episode before my Wednesday night stream. That's what I'll talk about. We'll talk about Making a Murderer, and we'll talk a little bit more about Mad Men, and I will try to finish up Jessica Jones so I could talk about Jessica Jones on Wednesday. But if you're looking for a new show to watch Jessica Jones. It's great. Kristen Ritter is doing awesome. David Tennant, one of the best villains in television right now, if ever. And, yeah. So, with that being said, we're almost an hour into the stream. We're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart, almost as much as Sherlock. I've seen this movie 3 times so far. I'm going to go see this movie an estimated 3 more times again. I cannot get over how fantastic this movie is. I cannot get over how well put together this movie was made. I understand the grievances that a lot of people have with it. I understand where they're all coming from. I understand why people are saying they don't like it, but they respect it. And that's, of course, Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. And that barely fits on there. Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, was released December 18th, 2015. It is not as good as the original trilogy of Star Wars A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. It's better than the prequels, and I'll let you know why in a little bit. Star Wars The Force Awakens has brought the franchise of Star Wars and has brought the production company of Lucasfilm back in our minds and in our hearts. George Lucas, first off, congratulations on your acceptance into the Kennedy the Kennedy Center, the special, the Kennedy Center, being an honorary member of the Kennedy Center. I don't know the actual name of the honor. I watched the honor, the ceremony. I got to watch your segment of it. George Lucas is known for taking a story and using technology that he did not have in telling this story, and that is Star Wars. May of 1977, the world was first introduced to Star Wars. And it didn't at first become the sensation that it is now. It didn't at first have that huge fan base that it has now. Over the years, of course, like any movie, like any franchise, much like Sherlock, much like Doctor Who, much like any of the TV shows or any of the movies that we've seen where they make multiple movies, it created a following. But it was able to tell a story, and it was able to show that any person's idea can go from paper to screen. Now, I'm not saying this movie revolutionized cinemas. It was like the Wizard of Oz, where you first went from black and white to color. A concept that a lot of people at the time in the 1930s did not think were incredibly possible. And I could be wrong about this. This is just my feeling of it. You got to see color. You got to see the ruby red shoes on Dorothy's feet. You got to see the blue and white. When they said follow the yellow brick road, there was a yellow brick road. Star Wars was able to bring a sci-fi adventure with a Western mentality to your screen, to the big screen, to your mind, to your eyes, to your heart. We got to meet droids who beeped and booped the whole movie. But he had feelings. And you can tell when R2-D2 was scared. You can tell when he was being a jerk. And he never uttered a word. In fact, there's a funny joke that R2-D2 is the most vulgar character in cinematic history because they bleeped out every one of his lines. But you understood when he was on his mission. You understood when he was scared. And that was all just beeps and boops and looking around and all that kind of stuff. It really did tell a story. Now, the way that he did it was he was able to create a technology, but also bring the puppets and the Muppets that you saw on television, bring them to life and make them give you that feeling that when you walked into the cantina back in 1977 in a galaxy far, far away, you actually felt like you were in that cantina. You heard the music. And you actually felt the presence of these aliens as Sir Alec McGuinness, Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford were walking by them. Now, fast forward it to the turn to the not turn of the century, to 1999. George Lucas decided to come back and not give us the rest of the story, but give us the prequels. Let us know how Darth Vader became to be Darth Vader. Now, I could go on and on all these days about how bad the prequels were. But if you actually take a look at it, the prequels were not that bad. The story behind the prequels were good. It's just this mentality of really putting a great story and using technology to tell that story kind of took a beat behind the technology. He went a little overboard with the technology to tell the story. So he was basically saying, all right, I was able to tell a story using technology, but now I want the technology to tell the story. And he went a little overboard. And it was unfortunate because a great story could have been told. Fast forward again to 2013. Lucasfilm is bought by Disney. A lot of people hated it. I mean, I have a Darth Vader helmet with Mickey Mouse ears on it. That's what people were thinking, that Disney is going to not destroy the Lucasfilm legacy, but however, not really make it as great. But then a couple years earlier, Marvel was bought by Disney. And Disney had turned around Marvel. So there is that glimmer of hope that Disney would do the same with Lucasfilm. And then they announced that Star Wars is going to continue. Then we find out that the king of reboots, so-called king of reboots, J.J. Abrams will direct the next Star Wars in the lineage of Star Wars. Okay, all right. So now we're getting an episode 7. Great. Then we're told the title will be called The Force Awakens. Then we get a glimpse through trailers, TV spots, through Force Friday, which was merchandise. I've got figurines. I've got Legos. I've got 2 lightsabers. I've got masks all over my apartment, all over the New Nerd Studios, of all stuff that I picked up on Force Friday because I was that excited. And we're getting more glimpses of stories, of this storyline and everything like that. And now we've come to December 18th, 2015, the official day of the release of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. Here is my review. I'm going to let you know right now, there's going to be spoilers. So I'm going to throw this up. There's a spoiler alert. For those of you... Oh, J. Drake, TKE17, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much for hitting that follow button. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome. Welcome. I hope you're enjoying yourself. We're going to be talking about The Force Awakens. So if it's taking you nearly 2 weeks to go see this film, stop right now, leave your house, and go see the film. I'm sure there's a 9 o'clock showing or a 9:15 or something like that. Force Awakens brought back a franchise that was not dead, but that was kind of hurting. And I say that because J.J. Abrams was able to take everything we loved about the original trilogy and bring it in. Oh, great. Awesome. Bring it in and give you a movie that we've been missing and that we've been waiting for nearly 40 years. Now, again, I say the prequels were not terrible only because the story was there. Now, here's kind of how George Lucas could have saved the prequels. If he had just gone back to basics, and that's what J.J. Abrams did. He went back to basics. Nearly every creature, alien, set piece was analog. And what I mean by analog was they were puppets. There were real people in or around controlling each of these aliens, giving these creatures more of a personality than a guy in a green suit. Or someone that looks like a human, they just had extra makeup made on them. The set pieces, they were really in the desert for Jakku. Just like George Lucas was really in the desert for Tatooine. They were really in a cold environment when they were on Starkiller. They rebuilt the interiors. There are shots of J.J. Abrams sitting on set with Lawrence Kasdan inside Starkiller Base as they're writing stuff down for the script. They were actually there. And a bunch of stormtroopers just walked by. If George Lucas had only done that, we would not be saying that those movies were terrible. Yeah, Kenny Baker. Kenny Baker plays R2-D2. Every time you saw R2-D2 do this, and he had 2 legs, that was Kenny Baker inside of it. um, every then the prequels would have been something different. I believe that if they actually used real set pieces for the prequel series, we would be saying that the pod race in episode 1 was not an over redundant scene that really didn't need to be part of that didn't need to be part of the franchise. We would say it was one of the most, we would put it up against the original trilogy, saying that it's one of the most innovative ways to use CGI to make a race that would normally seem very difficult to do and do it very well. Now, J.J. Abrams was able to made a lot of the flights, the Millennium Falcon, the TIE Fighters, the X-Wings. They were mostly CGI, which was great because you got some shots that were really, really just awesome. And again, if George Lucas did everything analog except for stuff like the pod race, except for stuff like all the star battles and stuff, we would have been trying to compare The Force Awakens to both the original trilogy and the prequels. Now, The Force Awakens is the 7th chapter in a 9-chapter story. George Lucas has always had a 9-part story. However, J.J. Abrams, Lawrence Kasdan, and Mike Arndt, the 3 main writers of The Force Awakens, decided not to use George Lucas's ideas. They wanted to go a different way. They wanted to go a way that they thought was right. And Kathleen Kennedy was 100% behind them. Disney was 100% behind them. Now, should they have taken some of George Lucas's ideas and made it their and incorporate them? Yeah, I think so. Were they completely wrong in not involving George Lucas? Maybe. But George Lucas probably also didn't want to be part of it, which is fine. It's okay. He sold Lucasfilm, and he wiped his hands clean of it. He did not want to do any more movies, at least any more Star Wars movies. That was his decision. He's allowed to do it. And for these Star Wars movies that he already made, he got this wonderful award. And I know he deserved it. Everybody knows he deserved it. I mean, you can't go back and watch the first Death Star being destroyed, the trench scene and all that, the trench run and all that, and not sit there and go, wow, that I gotta watch it again. In fact, I'll probably watch it again after I watch Sherlock tonight. Now, areas that The Force Awakens worked. Casting. Again, J.J. Abrams went back to basics. He hired a multitude of actors and actresses that nobody really knew. Yes, they starred in this film and that film, and they're in this TV show, and we see their face everywhere with this. However, they're not your A-listers. They're not your Chris Evans. They're not your Robert Downey Jr.'s. They're not your Jennifer Lawrence. No, he directed A New Hope, and then he shopped out Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. He directed all 3 prequels. And if I got that mixed up, I'm sorry. I know he didn't do it, and I'm sure other people did too. They got no-name actors. I mean, in the original trilogy, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and Harrison Ford were not really that famous yet. Harrison Ford was, he was a little bit, but not as famous as he has become. They did the same thing with John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Daisy Ridley, Adam Driver, Gwendolyn Christie, gentleman who plays General Hux. I can't remember his name. But anyway, they're not your Jennifer Lawrences, your Bradley Coopers. They're not at all. And I thought that was absolutely amazing. Now, I've watched HBO's Girls with Adam Driver, and I love Adam Driver in that show. I loved him in This Is Where I Leave You. I didn't get to see the movie that he did with Ben Stiller, but I'm sure he was fantastic in that. I'll probably watch it one of these weekends. But when I heard Adam Driver was casted to The Force Awakens, I was beside myself because I knew he was going to be great. Then when I found out he was casted as one of the main villains, I nearly fainted. And then when I got to see it, I thought, there's nobody better than Adam Driver to play Kylo Ren. And I stand by it. You may fight me on it, but I will stand by it. Daisy Ridley. I've never heard of her before. I don't know what she was in. So I didn't know what type of character she can play. I watched interviews with her about Star Wars. I read interviews with her. I still was not getting a vibe from her. And then when the trailer started coming out and you start to hear and see her facial expressions and stuff, I thought, wow, she's really got something. She's got something behind her. And then I read something interesting in an article with an interview of J.J. Abrams. J.J. strongly put out this message of mothers, take your daughters to see this movie. I mean, you think so, Diamond Fire? Because I thought Adam Driver was great for the age that he needed to play. Again, he's now currently scarred. Yeah, no, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, no, Adam did look a little younger now that you say that. I'll have to go watch it again. Daisy Ridley, so J.J. Abrams strongly said, mothers, take your daughters to see this movie. And then when I saw it, I was beside myself. Daisy Ridley can play a strong female character. Carrie Fisher did well. Carrie Fisher did amazingly well in the original trilogy. And Natalie Portman, she did all right. I mean, she was great at playing a diplomat. I didn't like her for that part. And obviously her chemistry with Hayden Christensen really killed it. So it was like, I love Natalie Portman. She plays great parts. Just this one was not her. But Daisy Ridley, so strong, yet so mysterious. And you sit there and you think to yourself, who is this character? That's what, as you could tell from the movie, you sat there going, who is Rey? Who is everything? Who is she? And she did play kind of a really great, mysterious Mark Hamill in Luke Skywalker when you first see him in Episode 4, A New Hope. And it was just great, but the strength behind her is awesome. John Boyega, he again, I don't really know his work outside of The Force Awakens because I really haven't sat down to watch it. He was hilarious, and he was able to hold his own as well. He did just great one-liners, great scared kind of, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know that something in me tells me that what I'm doing is right or wrong. It gives you that three-dimensional part of a stormtrooper that you never got in any of the movies, because in the prequels, the clone troopers were the clone troopers. They were bred and made to follow orders. And then the stormtroopers in the original trilogy were kind of given the same thing. But now you're starting to see that the same program of we program these kids from birth or from a very young age to follow orders and everything, you see that it doesn't work with everyone. You see that there are soldiers that think for themselves, and that there are soldiers that form relationships even though they're wearing a helmet and a mask that hides everything within them. So John Boyega really was able to portray that third dimension of a stormtrooper that you never really get to see in the Star Wars movies. Now, Oscar Isaac, I thought, was one of the 3 characters that was underutilized. 4 characters that was underutilized. I mean, he's the new Harrison Ford. You know, the quick one-liners, the crack pilot, the you know, I'm not afraid of anyone. I know my place, and I know that I'm cocky and I can be cocky. That was the Oscar Isaac. That's the Poe Dameron. The pilot, I'm gonna win you over because I got the charms, I got the looks, I got the one-liners. That was Oscar Isaac. He was your new Harrison Ford Han Solo, even though Han's in the movie. So you get both of them, and I think that's why you didn't see Oscar Isaac a lot when you saw Harrison Ford, and then towards the end you saw more of Oscar Isaac because there was that wow factor within it. Clone troopers are better than stormtroopers. I mean, they were thinking about bringing them back, so Kylo Ren told General Hux to bring it back. Now, another thing that I thought really worked, that they brought back in this movie, was on the dark side, on the bad guy side, you had 2 people fighting for the same thing, yet you had them doing 2 different things. And they had that in Star Wars Episode 4, when Darth Vader and Grand Moff Tarkin were trying to they were trying to both please the Emperor. Although Darth Vader was trusting in the Force, Grand Moff Tarkin said, hey, listen, we got this huge space station that could blow up planets. Why don't we use it? That's how we can instill fear. That's how we can take the message of the Emperor and let everyone know that the Empire is here. Fast forward it about 45 years, because you got to think of all those movies. You have General Hux who's sitting there like, we have a planet that can destroy 6 planets at a time. I'm gonna use it. And you have Kylo Ren who's sitting there saying, no, we need to trust in the Force. We need to be methodical. They are many, we are one. They are many, we are one. And I liked the fighting between the 2 of them. Both of them basically running to mommy or running to daddy and saying, "Daddy, I really want to use my big gun," or "Daddy, he wants to use the big gun, and I really think we should wait." And you get to see that in that one scene when they do fire Star Killer to destroy the Republic. You see the scene where you see Kylo Ren. Now, his face is behind the mask, but I could tell you right now that he was probably sitting there and just lowering his head and just shaking his head when he saw that they fired off Star Killer, because he knew deep down this is not the way to do things. This is the fast and easy way to do things, not the way it should have been. And I thought the banter between the 2 was just great. It was classic Star Wars. Gwendolyn Christie, I can't really say much about because she was another one of the characters that was underutilized. She had a couple scenes, and then they talked about killing her. Now, Kathleen Kennedy said all the cast members are set to return in episode 8. And I know the trash compactor was kind of a nod back to the original Star Wars, because the trash compactor and the Death Star. But she does have that commanding presence. And for those of you who watch Game of Thrones, you understand that her character in Game of Thrones is a woman in a mostly man's occupation. She's a knight. She's a female knight. And she wears the armor. And in the TV show, she doesn't wear the helmet as much because you're supposed to see her face. But in Star Wars, she's a stormtrooper in a silver armor. So that shows that it shows progression in this once male-created, dominated profession of clone troopers into stormtroopers. And there was another female stormtrooper in The Force Awakens, which was great. And of course, there's the black stormtrooper in John Boyega, which again, I thought was awesome. Because it's showing progression. It shows that history has a way of repeating itself, with the Star Killer being the same as the Death Star, with the embattlement between military and the Force. But it also shows progression. It shows that they don't care what race or what gender you are. You are joining the First Order. You will fight for Supreme Leader Snoke. That being said, and that being mentioning Supreme Leader Snoke, I was real. That was that. I'm going to start going into the cons now. Supreme Leader Snoke is a huge con for me. Now, during the promotional aspect of the film, Supreme Leader Snoke, Maz Kanata, I think it was Maz Kanata, and Luke Skywalker were three main characters that were spoken about, however, were not mentioned anywhere in the promotional material. The only time that we saw or heard any of them was during the trailers. You heard Supreme Leader Snoke's voice in the first teaser. You heard Luke's voice in the second teaser. However, that was actually lines taken from Return of the Jedi. And you heard Maz's voice in the actual trailer and a lot of the TV spots. Now, that was it. You only heard their voices. You saw Luke's hand on R2-D2. You read and you heard and nothing else. I thought those characters were underutilized. Luke, for understanding reasons, had to be. However, Supreme Leader Snoke should have had a bigger part in this movie. Now, to flip that around, I believe they're doing the same thing that they did in the original series, where in Episode 4, A New Hope, you only hear about the Emperor. You hear in the very beginning that the Emperor had completely liquidated or completely dismembered the Senate, and now he is the supreme leader of everything in the galaxy. And you hear him say, the Emperor is not happy with your thing. You never see him. You never hear his voice. You only hear him being mentioned in conversations between the military and Darth Vader. And then in Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, you see the Emperor for the first time in a video conference call. And then in Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, you actually see the Emperor. He actually plays a bigger part. So, now we fast forward it 30 years to Episode 7, The Force Awakens. You see Supreme Leader Snoke in that video voicemail type thing. But you at least get to see him. And although he was underwhelmed, it was an underwhelming performance, especially for the man who was playing him, Andy Serkis, who has won Academy Awards for his capture animation, for his human capturing of characters with Caesar in Planet of the Apes, in the new reboot of the Planet of the Apes. He helped out in he helped James Spader with Age of Ultron. He was Gollum. He is the man when it comes to capture, to motion capture acting. And yet you had him sitting the whole time. And it was just a little disheartening that you had someone like that done it. There were only 2 characters in The Force Awakens that was done by motion capture. One was Supreme Leader Snoke because you had Andy Serkis do it, and the other was Lupita's character of Maz. And Maz, she's the new Yoda type thing. She is all wise. She is not a Jedi. She has nothing to do with the Force, and even she says she has nothing to do with the Force. However, she is just as wise as Yoda. She was a little underutilized as well, but I know she'll be back in the rest of the series. I just hope that Supreme Leader Snoke is used more in the series. So that was one of my negative things. Now, another negative thing that I've been hearing about a lot with this movie is that it's basically a carbon copy of the original trilogy, of each a little bits and pieces grabbed from each of the episodes 4, 5, and 6. The loner found on a desert planet, Luke on Tatooine, Rey on Jakku. The maskless enemy, Kylo Ren in Force Awakens, Darth Vader in episodes 4, 5, and 6. The lightsaber in the snow and the movement when people are trying to use the Force to grab it, Empire Strikes Back in the Wampa Cave, Force Awakens between the last lightsaber battle. There were a lot of... Oh, calling the Millennium Falcon a piece of junk. Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker in Episode 4. Rey and Finn in Episode 7. These are the things that... these are things that a lot of people, I think, were nitpicking on. I think that they had J.J. Abrams, Lawrence Kasdan, and Mike Arndt had a story to tell, and they knew that this was the best way to tell it. Did it seem like a lot of the earlier original trilogy? Yes. I'll give it to them. Yes, it did. After people told me that, I did start to see it when I rewatched the movie again. However, when I was watching it for the first time, I was amazed. I was beside myself. I nearly cried. Legitimately nearly cried because of how well put together a story had been told. Again, you have a man who does not know what is right and wrong, but can feel what is right and wrong. You have a woman who is embattled with whether or not she should stay to wait for the ones that abandon her, or if she just should close her eyes and look forward. I know that's kind of like an oxymoron of a sentence, but she should close her eyes and look forward, and maybe she'll get her answers instead of looking back. You have a man who's so tormented to become stronger, to become powerful like his grandfather, that he goes to any ends in order to make himself angry to be that way. And you have someone who is so distraught by past events, by an idea that he had going completely AWOL, going completely crazy and going so far the wrong way that he goes AWOL. You have these characters that need to tell you a story, and we've just seen the first of 3 stories. It's like going back to Sherlock, where you have a season of 3 episodes. You know from seeing seasons 1, 2, and 3, that each of these 3 episodes tells a story that will end at the end of the episode. That's why I think that's why they call them series. I can't be too sure. I'm not a British television guru. However, that's what my theory is. Television these days is starting to go on the tangent of doing one season is a full story. American Horror Story has done it for 5 seasons. Fargo has done it for 2 seasons, where every season tells you a different story. Now, every TV show does that. They have that overlaying story arc that you see in all the seasons. However, there are now new TV shows coming out where every season is a different story. And they do grab elements and grab little tie-ins between everything. But it's a different story. American Horror Story Season 1 was a horror house. American Horror Story Season 4 was a freak show. Season 5 is a hotel. The Walking Dead, the overlaying story arc is a bunch of people trying to survive each other in a zombie apocalypse and the surrounding people around them. It's a soap opera with zombies. However, in each season, you meet new people. And then you get to see how this core group of people that you know from day one, from episode 1, you see how they react and how they work with each person that they meet along their way of survival. The Star Wars series is going to tell you a story. Now, when the Star Wars first came out, it was supposed to be a standalone movie. However, it did so well in the back end that they came out and created 2 more, that George Lucas said, well, I've got 2 more stories that we can tell. I've got more stories before and after it as well to tell. And he did. And thus creating an extended universe or anything else throughout that way. Now we're getting a new glimpse into a Star Wars universe. Think of it as a new season. We just saw episode 1. Episode 2 will be coming out in a year and a half. And a year and a half to 2 years after that, we'll have episode 3. And then the season's done. In fact, the series will be done. Then they'll just do the standalone movies that they're planning on doing, which is something that the Star Wars universe has not done before. And I'm actually very interested to see, come December 2016, after we've elected a new president, we'll get to see, can the Star Wars name survive without that lineage? Because thus far, every movie we've seen has been part of a line, has been part of a timeline. Or should I go this way? Yeah, that seems more appropriate, right? Or this way. December 2016, Rogue One, a Star Wars story, comes out. It's meant to be the Saving Private Ryan with Star Wars characters. No Force, no Yoda, no Jedi, no Sith, no lightsabers. The only character that they think is going to return from the original trilogy is, in fact, Darth Vader. Maybe, perhaps. But he might only be in the voice form. Maybe he'll be a silhouette. We don't know. But it's meant to tell the story of real people in a situation with Star Wars skin all over it. Instead of rifles, they have blaster rifles. Instead of jets, they've got X-Wings and TIE fighters. So it's going to be interesting to see, can Disney and the new Lucasfilm, under the guidance of Kathleen Kennedy, can they make a movie with the name Star Wars that doesn't have all the makings of Star Wars? It's going to be very interesting to see. I gotta say, The Force Awakens was an absolute hit in my eyes. And I believe in Disney's eyes too. I don't think J.J. Abrams and Lawrence Kasdan and anyone in Disney should feel ashamed or should feel the backlash as to you made a carbon copy of Star Wars A New Hope at all. I think what they did was they made an original story and they made it using the same sort of techniques that George Lucas used back in 1975 and 1977. Star Wars Force Awakens is going to lead us into a journey where we see angst turn to anger, love turn to hate, hate turn to love. We're going to see a new story. And I'm excited to be part of the ride. And I'm excited to bring everybody with me as part of the ride. 2016 is going to be a great year. I've got a lot of things going on behind the scenes. I've got a lot of things going on in front of you, all of you. TV shows are probably at their best right now. With shows like The Walking Dead, Once Upon a Time, even the comic book TV shows, Arrow, The Flash, the new show, Legends of Tomorrow, I might have nothing but good things to say about it. Even Supergirl, a show that I thought was going to be too silly to watch, is a show that I can't wait to watch. We're seeing a new dynamic of actors and actresses. We're seeing more actresses take a leadership role and doing it awesomely. And I love it. I love it. Orange is the New Black is I mean, it's the first of the Netflix shows. And I can't wait for those girls to come back, for those women to come back. Can't wait to hear the stories and see what kind of craziness they all can get into. I'm super excited for it. I think 2015, 2016 is probably one of the better TV seasons we're going to see. And I think Star Wars The Force Awakens has actually 100% brought the franchise back. It was sad to see one of our very own dearly depart. However, there's more. There's plenty of more. So yeah. So welcome into 2016. Every one of you. Let me know the TV shows that you're watching. You can follow me on Twitter at the New Nerd N-Town. I can't afford the I. You can look me up on Facebook. Usually a lot of my stuff on Twitter goes to my Facebook, so it's really kind of like a double-edged sword. I don't know. Downton Abbey tonight is beginning. It's a show I don't watch, so I'm just letting you know right now, but it's a show that it will be ending at the end of the season. It's unfortunate. However, it felt it was its time to go. And I commend every single one of them doing it. I'll be here Sundays and Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, to talk about the TV shows. On Wednesdays, I talk about TV shows from Sunday to Tuesday. And on Sundays, I talk about the rest of the week. If there's any TV show that you think I should be watching and you think I would be interested in, by all means, let me know. If you want to check out to see how my shows usually go and check out to see all the clips and all that kind of stuff, follow me on YouTube. Just type in The New Nerd in Town on YouTube, and you'll see my pretty cartoony face. I also have a podcast on iTunes. Again, if you search in The New Nerd in Town, it'll pop up. It's basically the audio of this stream. I welcome everyone as we're here for 2016. And for those of you who have been with me from the start, thanks for sticking around. This is going to be fun. We're going to have a lot of fun come 2016. I want to say to everyone that I love you. I love every single one of you, and I especially love you. I didn't forget that. 2016 is going to be awesome. I'm going to be trying to come to a couple of conventions, for those of you who don't know. I'll definitely be at New York City Comic Con this year. 2 days. I went on Thursday. I think we're talking about doing 2 days. Again, there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. Before, I was with Crit Camp, and thanks again, Crit Camp and Chris, for hitting that host button. I've been doing a lot of things with them lately. We've been playing Ghostbusters. We've been playing Zombicide together. On Thursdays, we're playing Terraria together. We're looking to get some more games in there. I just bought Broforce, and I think the other guys did too, so maybe we'll do a Drunken Broforce stream. We're thinking of doing a lot more things together. And we want to build a community, and we want to build a community with you. And I can't wait to do that. So have a happy, happy new year. Welcome to 2016. Go watch Sherlock, The Abominable Bride. It's only been out for 2 days. For the past 2 weeks, if you haven't already, go see Star Wars The Force Awakens. I'm telling you, even if you're not a Star Wars fan, this brings it back. Ladies and gentlemen, have a great evening. Have a great new year. And have a great week. This is Dave, the New Nerd, signing off. Wait, hold on. Okay, signing off. Everybody, have a wonderful, wonderful evening.